Are you over 50 and you are single and ready to mingle? But where do you start? Have you discovered that the dating world that you see now is just so different to the one that you remember from so many years ago? Are you finding that you've got anxiety, that you just don't know what today's rules are? Well, then you're going to want to stay on for today's episode because I have an amazing guest who's not only going to tell you how dating over 50, over 60, over 70 is different to those earlier years, but she's also going to give you tips on how to manage your anxiety and how to find people. Let's do it. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Rocking Midlife Podcast. And I know you're going to love today's guest. We have the wonderful Laurie Gerber all the way from New York, sweltering there in the New York sunshine. So welcome, Laurie.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. We've already been touching on a whole lot of things that I think we could dive into so many different topics. But today, Laurie is going to be talking to us about a really great topic that I know is so pertinent because in our Rocking Midlife community, this is a question that I see asked a lot. And that is, how do I navigate dating after 50? So no pressure, Laurie, but we're looking to you, girl, to bring the gold today and to help out our sisters who have found themselves single and ready to mingle in their 50s, but not sure where to start. So before we dive in, though, I would really love it if you could tell us a bit about yourself, because reading your bio, you are an amazing, incredibly experienced life coach and dating and relationship coach. And I'm going to have all of your bio details there. But I would love to hear from you how it is that you got into doing this line of work and working with women in their 50s.
I was a seeker my whole life looking for happiness personally. And so I had tried a lot of personal growth by the time I met my coach, who taught me the methodology I teach today. So I had tried yoga, Tai Chi, meditation, gurus. I had lived in an ashram.
Oh, wow.
I've taken every course you can imagine, read every book, therapy, of course, all the things. So I met a person socially whom I really admired. I was in a women's group with her, actually. And her life looked a lot like my life. This was back 20 years ago. But she was actually happy. She was buoyantly happy, in fact. And I found it very annoying and confusing because she had some of the same personal growth I had done, but she seemed to actually be enacting it in her day-to-day life. So I hired her as my coach. I thought I was going for career coaching, the socially acceptable thing to be coached on. She took one look at my health and well-being and my marriage. She said, "Are you willing to tank your health and marriage? Because I wouldn't if I were you." I said, "No, I'm not willing to." She started working with me on those things, which then became the first dominoes to knock down all the other dominoes in my life. Within 6 months, top to bottom, my whole life was changed. I never got over the insights. I never stopped actually executing in accordance with the insights. So it was extremely powerful to meet this person, meet this methodology. It saved my marriage. It saved my family. It saved my health. And it then went on to help me in my career, which then took a little bit of a turn to, I was in a business working for myself anyway. So I was working on growing that business. And all of a sudden I realized, well, if I'm going to be in business, I might as well sell something I love. And so I got trained in the methodology and started to coach people and also run a division of this woman's company. So for the last 20 years, I've held many positions in that company. I've coached over 10,000 hours, obviously, individual.
Yep.
I worked with Match.com. I worked with JDate. I worked with Zeus. So I've just been plugging away at helping human beings be happy for the last 20 years. And then my parents actually got sick a few years ago, and I really needed to slow down. And so I'm no longer working those crazy hours and being an executive. I kind of went off. I did a spinoff. I still use the Handel method, but I'm on my own now. And I had to pick a niche to decide, what do you want, Laurie? And it's kind of, I'm at the stage where I've been doing this for so long. I can pick and choose what I really want to do. I don't have to do as much as I used to feel I had to do. And I thought, who is the ideal client? Like, who do I love the most of all the clients I've ever had, of all the clients I have right now? And it's menopausal women, or postmenopausal women.
Yeah.
And it's because they're finally free.
Yes.
Figure out what the heck they want.
That's right.
And And you are, when you're a woman in your late 40s, early 50s, all the way to your early 60s, mid 60s, you are, for the first time in this day and age, specifically in this day and age that we live in, truly free to ask yourself what you want. And the answer will not be, it will not be a version of your mother's answer or even your sister's answer or your friend's answers, because there's so much more possible now than there ever was before. And you really are hopefully managing the actual symptoms of menopause. You're dealing with, do you want to stay in a relationship that you're in, that you've been in for a really long time or not, or you're recently divorced, or you're 7 years divorced and you're kind of thinking, but now what do I want? Because the thing you wanted when you were in your 20s and 30s, totally different. Women are usually very, they're grounded, they know themselves better, but they often have skipped the self-love work, skipped the healing work. They've skipped the what do I really want work. And so it's just such a beautiful time. Love is such a beautiful pain point to me, because I think it's the most important thing. And that age is such a beautiful age to me. Nobody's rushing to settle and making me help them settle, which I don't like doing.
Yeah.
So I picked that as my favorite, as my niche. And so I've been creating gobs of content, all the way from free to extremely involved content on how to help a woman know if she's ready to date, get ready to date effectively and painlessly, and then find and maintain healthy love. And it's so much fun.
Oh, I love it. Love it. It's
Long
so
story
cool.
long.
Well, you kind of hit it even with your own walk, didn't you? Like, you get your health and you get your relationship sorted, and that's like your foundation for everything else in life, isn't it? The critical pieces of life.
Right.
And I know at midlife, like you said, it's this incredible time where these days we get the chance to go, do I want to be the same person that I have been to this point? We get to reinvent, we get to change things, and love and relationships are a huge part of that, aren't they? And if you're in a long-term relationship, which I know you are, and I am too, I'm coming up to 36 years married in December this year. Or if you're starting again, it's like we get to choose, don't we, to just settle and do what we've always done, or to create something better. But today, I really want to dive into the dating thing, because like I said, in our Rocking Midlife community, I know there's so many women who are facing this, like, how do I date now? It's different to when I was in my 20s. There weren't dating apps then. What are some of the do's and don'ts? Because I know some people would love some real practical tips here.
That's why I have the date like you mean it quiz.
Yeah.
Are you ready like you mean it? And you
Yes.
really do need to ask yourself these 30 questions and assess. It's like a scale of 1 to 100%, and you get a grade just like in school. And it is important to assess if you're ready. We are operating on the level of belief as well as the level of action. So if you've assessed that you're ready and you want to get out there, it is super important that you have a good strategy, especially if you have not been online or you've not been dating in the modern era and you were last dating 20 or 30 years ago. Things were completely different. There were no apps. You didn't know if people were single. You couldn't just go online and find millions of single people, which has its pros and cons, of course. There was not this concept of the tyranny of choice, which is the concept that the more choice we have, the less satisfied we are. So there wasn't this concept of, I can just click, I can just keep going until I find better. So that means, people were, I think, a little more interested in getting to know you. And once they adapted, maybe, really trying to make it work versus moving on to the next. Another thing that has changed is that equality between men and women is more popular now. The gender roles and dynamics have completely changed. So you are coming up in a time when you felt you had to be the one to do all the chores and raise the children or do all the emotional labor in a relationship. That's just not true anymore. It's just not true. It's not what you have to do anymore. You also don't have to settle for something you don't like because you want to have a child. A lot of things have changed. And a lot has changed also about, we were giggling before we got on about how I sleep separately from my husband. And of course, 50 years ago, that would have been just probably even more absurd sounding. But now, I think like 35% of couples don't sleep together. And I mean sleep, but I don't mean
as in close your eyes and sleep, folks. Yeah.
As in the thing you need to restore your health every night. Yes. And then another big percentage wishes they did it, right? So a silly change like that, right? Or I mean, I just had the craziest experience. My mother told me that their next door neighbor's husband had died, and I said, "Oh, I never knew she was married
Oh,
because
wow.
I've been seeing this woman alone in her studio apartment for my whole life." My mother said, "Well, they didn't live together. He lives on the west side, she lived on the east side." And I thought, right, they did not live a traditional marriage, and
Mhm.
then there's polyamory. So don't get me started. Like, there's,
Right.
there's
Okay.
a wider range of what is acceptable now.
Yeah.
Again, like, it boggles the mind. You and I don't even know the half of it, of what people are doing and making it work. But my point isn't for everyone to go all fringe, because most people just want their suitable companion. My point, things are up for grabs again, and you might as well actually take the time and effort to think about what it is that you actually want. So things are different. You need a really good strategy to deal with a very different ballgame.
What about the age gap thing? Because one thing I see on TV and in movies and everything is they'll have the 50, 60-year-old male lead and pair him with a 30-year-old. And is that an issue out in the dating world too, or is that just a Hollywood thing?
Oh, is it? Well, definitely that happens. That is not your imagination.
Because I've had
I
girlfriends in their 50s going, well, I don't want to have to date a 70-year-old.
Here's what I'm going to say to you ladies who are complaining about that men like younger women. What they like is vitality,
Mm-hmm.
acceptance, and approval. That's what they like. They like
Wow.
vitality, acceptance, approval, perhaps someone who wants to have sex, right? Like, so this is what they like in a younger woman. No man walks around going, I want a younger woman.
Mm-hmm.
They go, I want someone who looks at me like that. I want someone who appreciates me. I want someone who thinks I'm amazing. I want someone who needs me, right? This is what a man wants. It's not the younger that he wants. But for every man who wants that, there are 2 to 3 men who desperately desire an age mate.
Yeah.
Desperately desire an age mate. So please stop focusing on the wrong statistics. Okay? They want someone who knows their music, knows the history they've lived through. No, he's going to get them.
Yes,
That is
and possibly doesn't want kids younger than his grandkids too, which is often the issue with the younger second wife, isn't it?
It's fine. I really understand. And by the way, I'm all for a woman going for a younger man, please.
Yes.
And that happens. That happens too. And that is fine. Also, it's all fine. Age is never the reason somebody picks someone, and it shouldn't be the reason you don't pick someone. And if you're focused on age or height or hair or something like that, that you think it means, that means X, I'm telling you, your thinking is wrong. Your thinking is going to get you in trouble. That thing you're thinking is the proxy for that other thing is not. And it's limiting you from looking at all the people that you could look at and being the kind of open-minded person that would then actually attract the mate that you want. So I do not recommend fixating on height, age, weight, hair color, religion, race. Those are not the things that, even financial standing, which everyone, those are not the things that bear out as what is important in the long-term success of a relationship.
So well said. And what you were just saying in particular about it, what a man's looking for, like light bulb for me, just in thinking of the cases I know with men, single men, some who have ended up with younger partners. And that's really great. Thank you. I've just had a little understanding now of what they were looking for. Yes. And it's like, duh. It's like, duh, isn't it? Like, we should know this. But
all the genders spend time judging the other genders negatively. Right? I could hear women go on and on. Men are shallow. They only care about how you look. They only care about your age. They want to be nursed and pursed. I mean, all the things I hear. And then the men are like, women don't care about who I am. They just want my money. They just want my status. They don't care about me. Right? I am just an object to them. They don't need me to care about me. I'm an object and I'm being used for my money. And so everyone's focused on what the other gender is doing wrong and not asking themselves this beautiful, heartfelt question, because everyone wants somebody
loved.
Set of people want to be coupled and not lonely.
Yeah.
So what we should be focused on is, what are the qualities we're looking for? How do we want to feel when we're with that person? And how can we show up in a way that's going to elicit that from another person? So how do
Yeah.
we show up positive and happy and vital and all of those things? That is such a better use of your mental energy and your time than figuring out what's wrong with dating sites or what's wrong with men.
You're so right, because it's so easy, particularly when you have been hurt, you have been through stuff. And let's face it, by the time you're in your 40s or 50s, you've been through stuff. You've had some bad experiences. And it's so easy, isn't it, just to do the generalizations and to fixate and just go, oh, well, it's freaking men. They don't listen. They don't do this, that. And then you get an echo chamber, don't you, with other single girlfriends and on you go. And it becomes all about you. And I love what you're saying, because yep, we've got to do the self-love and we've got to be healed. But at some point too, we've got to be thinking about, what can we gift to them? How can we build them up?
If you understand that love is a give and take, I
Yeah.
actually define love as, I care about the other person's experience as much as my own.
Yes.
That is what
Beautiful.
love is. If I only care about the other person's experience, that is called codependence.
Yeah.
If I only care about my experience, that is called narcissism.
Mm-hmm.
So going for that balance, and we have to mind both the entire dating journey. From the very beginning, you're looking at what they write in their profile to see, does it meet your needs? And you're also looking at it to see, do you meet their needs? And you're telling the truth about that. So dating is a dance of, do we meet each other's needs? It's just like when I talk to someone about coaching with me.
Yeah.
I'm not the right coach for everyone. I'm very in your face. I make you do a lot of written homework.
No, I can't. I was actually thinking you're so like me. It's like, come on, you can do this.
It's hard for everyone.
Yes.
It's the same with everyone online, everyone you could possibly date. Everyone is their own little snowflake. They've got 7 liabilities. They've got 27 things that are amazing about them. And those either really match up well or they don't. And you're not even going to find out if you're not fun to be with and open-minded and kind and thoughtful and present and vital, right? Because you've rested and you've exercised and you've eaten the way you know to eat. That's how you show up great for a date. And then there's no loss if it's not a match. You learned something. You contributed to someone. You had a nice dinner. You met. You networked. There's no wait time if you're dating with the right attitude. And my dream is this beautiful human resource that women over 50 is to free up their time and energy. I don't want any more energy wasted on crying to your friends or wondering if he's going to text or hating on the dating sites or even just complaining. I don't want, or crying on the therapy couch. I don't want any more of your beautiful, precious life force wasted on that, when you could be directing it all for the good.
Wow, like mic drop right there. We can sign off now, I think, on all that, and we're done. That was perfect. That was so good and so true. And I mean, we talk about that all the time, don't we? Like, we don't have forever.
The further away your kids get, the further away the career gets, and the more you get sick of traveling with your girlfriends only. Right? You have this beautiful retirement ahead of you where you're going to want to travel and see the world and do things and take up new sports and hobbies. And you have to keep doing it with your girlfriends. And oftentimes all your girlfriends are pairing up, right? Or the ones that aren't are kind of bitter and unfun. And so I think it becomes even more obvious how important it is and even more urgent. So the sooner you can get your attitude right, the better.
Good call. Good call. So back to some more practicalities then. So we have this lovely woman in her 50s who's done her inner work, who is determined that she is going to be looking for the right things in the bio, everything you've just said. So she's ticked that box now and she's not getting bogged up in the negativity. Where does she go?
I have all my clients create what I call a 3H chart, and they follow the 3 date strategies: head, heart, and hoo-ha.
Oh, I love that.
So the head, the heart, and the hoo-ha need to speak about what it is that you really want. I usually have to scrap most people's first or second draft of those because they say things like tall. So we need to do a few drafts until we can get to, what do you really want? Most people really want to feel safe. They want to have fun together. They want to have a great sex life. They want to feel beautiful. They want to be attracted, right? They want to have enough in common that their lives intertwine well. They want to have someone who supports their dreams and vice versa. They don't want something that is a deal breaker, like you won't like my cat, or you can't handle my schedule, or you're an alcoholic who's not in recovery and I don't do that anymore. Or so there's a few things for people that are deal breakers, and all that gets laid out in this 3H chart, which comes with you on every single date.
Oh, really? That's cool.
First, you don't need to show it necessarily, but it is your dating Bible in a sense, right? Of what you're looking for. As soon as you get it right. Again, most people, when they hear that list, they think of the 20, 30 things that they want, they think is their Prince Charming. That's not the list I'm talking. I'm talking about a much more essentialized list. Then I give my clients 3 dates. So the strategy is a 3-date strategy, and there are benchmarks you have to hit on each date. There are things you have to ask and answer on each date. And you only get 3 dates to get each person, each potential mate, to an 8 or above in all 3 H's. You don't get to say a 10 in heart overrules a 2 in hoo-ha. You don't get to say a 10 in hoo-ha overrules a 4 in heart. It's got across the board 8s or above. You have a strategy for getting there. You try all the tricks I teach you, but if you cannot get that person to an 8 or above on all 3, it's the pre-planned, canned response. It's been a pleasure meeting you. It's been so good to get to know you. You seem wonderful. I don't think this is a romantic match. I wish you the best of luck, because that you move on fast. Because again, the big problem with dating in your 50s is it can be exhausting if you don't have a good strategy, period. So you need a good strategy so you can move quickly through people and find your way to your suitable companion as fast as possible.
That's brilliant. Because that's one thing I have heard from a lot of, the single girlfriends, that you can just get bogged down. And the other thing a lot of them say, which would be interesting from your perspective over there, New Zealand's a small country. So I've got a lot of international ladies in the group. In fact, probably more than New Zealand, but the New Zealanders in particular find it challenging because it's just a smaller pool of people here.
Even my one client on Shelter Island, which is pretty remote.
I've never even heard of that. Where is that?
I believe it's New York State, right? It's in New York State, but it takes a bit to get there, right? It's a little remote, just logistically speaking. But to her, just say, if you're madly in love with the love of your life, you're going to work out the geography. And people are geographically mobile now. So I just don't.
Oh, that's true.
I don't agree that it's a reason to. It's BS. I'm sorry, it's BS, right? You're scared. I understand.
Okay, I'm taking the slap down on behalf of all my New Zealand single girlfriends. Okay,
don't blame geography. Don't blame your age. Don't blame your body. Don't, unless you're not happy with your body. Okay, but don't blame your body. Don't blame your age. Don't blame your geography. Okay, and if you really believe it, it's true. Right? Human beings prove their theories true. So if you really believe your geography is bad and you're not willing to change your move. Yeah. Okay. Love is worth it. I mean, come on. Right? There's literally millions of single people. Millions. And more every day. Millions. And most people are actually mobile.
Yeah.
So I don't subscribe at all to the geography excuse, although I have compassion for that it seems like it.
Yes.
Right. I had a pain-free natural childbirth. And you could say it.
I hate you. Sorry, just say.
Yeah. Like birth had to be painful. I had a painful birth also. And I had a couple of not painful ones. So, what's true? Like what propaganda are you listening to? I personally don't choose to subscribe to any propaganda I don't like. So I don't recommend subscribing to misery poker, complaining with your friends, or any theory that doesn't support you finding love easily, like your geography is the problem. That's number 1. Number 2, are some men looking for just sex? Yes. If you're on Tinder,
yes,
you're asking for it. Okay, number 1. Number 2, are they also lurking on all the other sites and in all the bars? Of course. And by the way, so are a lot of women. Mm-hmm. And it's also fine if you would like a one-night stand. I have no judgment about that. But if you are not looking for a one-night stand, you don't want a one-night stand, and you are looking for your long-term monogamous partner, what I suggest you do is, number 1, make sure that your profile reflects that. And I don't mean saying no hookups, no one-night stand. That is bitchy. I'm sorry. Don't put that on your, don't on there. What I am saying is I'm looking for my long-term monogamous companion. You can put that in there, and do not put pictures of you like this. Okay.
So for people listening in to the podcast and not watching watching the video. You actually might want to go watch the video after that nice little show.
I got a little cleavage.
She's looking pretty good, guys.
So you get it? So, and
Yeah.
again, I can't even tell you how many women I have to just fix the pictures on the profile.
Wow.
Your pictures are not conveying what you're trying to convey. If you're trying to convey open, accessible, loving, kind, but not I want a one night stand, you need to look a certain way. Ask your friends, ask a man if you need to. Do not convey yourself as a party girl if you don't want to be, because they are looking at the pictures. And if that's what your picture looks like, oh, hello.
Yeah.
That's what they think. And they may have not even read your whole, the whole thing you wrote about it for long term, but it doesn't matter because they're looking for what they're looking for. So best way to scare off a guy like that, first of all, you're always going to have a video chat.
Oh,
A guy hookup is, can we meet tonight? Can we go for a drink? No. I'd love to text for a little while. Then I'd like a video chat to see if there's chemistry. And then we'll meet during the day for a smoothie or a walk. No hookups happening. If that's great, you have just become very unattractive. The next thing you can do is on that first date, let him know you're looking for a long-term serious relationship. That will definitely eliminate anyone who's looking for a hookup.
Yeah.
So you're not powerless to avoid the man who is looking for a hookup. Yes, he exists. He's a human too. And you can repel him. You are capable of repelling him to the point where eventually you really won't even encounter it anymore because you are not constituted that way anymore. You are very clear about what you want. And so people don't, it's like nobody comes to me and asks me for free coaching. They just don't. They wouldn't do that. Like it just doesn't. So how you train people to treat you is very important. And that's not just literally in your interactions. It's in your own mind, how you are thinking you deserve to be treated. So that's to say two very common problems that I also hear.
But that's brilliant. I love it. And I guess the thing about it all is none of what you're saying, and forgive me if this is not an insult by any means, but none of it's rocket science. But they're simple, practical things that we just don't consider, do we? Yet when you're saying it's like, of course.
Every woman has 5 to 10 things on their list that is in the of her having what I call the click, where she's like, oh, and I can have them. 5 to 10 things. And there's no two women who have the same list of things. And the things are as absurd as there are no good men in Houston or, geography is a problem or, I don't think I have the right hair color or body type. Like they have everything from the truly comically wrong and not accurate all the way to they haven't resolved an abuse, which is not comical at all and very deep and very real. But it's 5 to 10 things that are solvable if you're willing to put in the work. Will stand in the way if you're not.
What about safety? The reason I bring up safety is, again, I know a lot of women in this age category can be a bit naive, particularly when it's online dating, simply because they haven't possibly done it before.
There's actually a spectrum all the way from totally naive and easily dupable to they think everyone is scamming them and therefore not gonna participate, right? So there really is a happy medium. It's like trust but verify. Are there scammers? 100% yes. Yes, there are. Are most people scammers? 100% no.
No.
Okay, you really have to get. It's kind of like, am I gonna die in a plane crash? Really? Okay, but could you? Yes, you could. Okay, so I really need you to have that mentality that if you think something bad's going to happen, it's more likely to happen. And there are some simple things you can do to keep yourself safe. And I think these are obvious, but I have met countless women who do not think they are obvious. Number one, if it seems fishy, it probably is. So if you think something's fishy, it probably is. Period. Okay? Trust that. And there's enough men online, you do not have to pursue anything you find fishy.
Yep. That's good. Yep. Trust that intuition, isn't it?
100%. Number 2, have a video chat very early. 1 or 2 weeks of texting, banter, that's fun. Phone calls, fine. Have a video chat. That already eliminates anyone who's trying for an easy scam. They will not take the time to do a video. You learn a lot about someone in a video chat in terms of their background. Are they punctual? What are they wearing? What do they really look like? A lot of problems are eliminated by the video chat. Insist upon a video chat.
That's a really good idea.
Number 3, meet in public.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, I don't even think you should meet in private till you've met someone's friends or family, right? Like, why would you ever meet in private with someone until you deeply understand that person's life and who they are? So you're always meeting in public. I prefer daytime for the first few dates because then you can extend it. You can take a walk. Nobody's drinking or feeling they need to drink.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful, wonderful thing to have daytime dates, which leads me to the next point, which is don't drink. I'm sorry, guys. I know it makes you less nervous, but it also makes you more vulnerable. Don't drink. Don't drink. Don't go out for a drink. Go for coffee, tea, smoothie, green juice, walk. If you have to drink, one drink only, and you have your eye on your drink the entire time. And it's really true. You really do have to. And why not just avoid all of that? You'll be so much better off.
Great.
Next stage. Find the person online. If they don't exist online with a seemingly real life, that's fishy. Even if they tell you they're famous and that's why they don't want you looking them up, that's fishy. And then you can also do a background check. I have a lot of my women do background checks because it's not that expensive. If you really like a person, they can afford me, they can afford a background check, and you might as well see someone's records. It's basically just a compilation of public records. It's not illegal to get a background check. That's my favorite. I love that. Why not?
It's a good idea. You do it if you're employing somebody.
Least due diligence you do for employing someone. At least. Okay. The last thing I will say is that if a man does not accept and honor your need/right to protect yourself, that is not your guy.
No, that's right.
His head is in the sand and he's taking it personally. And men need to understand that as women, we're not as safe as they are generally. So there are precautions we need to take. And I would hope that men really hurry up and support that and become really supportive of that, because all it means is giving us information, letting us see you in the context of your life, being an open book because you have nothing to hide, or admitting you have something to hide and then run along somewhere else, please, because I want to be with somebody who doesn't have something to hide and who is proud of their life and is fine with you in increments getting to know what that life is. And that all of that should avoid all but the most very intricate long play scams.
Yes. Yeah.
Even for intricate long play scams, I would say, again, women in midlife, hello, you literally never need to give a man money again. You never need to let them know your bank account. You never need to let them know your passwords. You never, ever need to do that again, because you don't need to raise a child together. You don't need to move in together. You don't need to give him any money.
Again, none of this is rocket science, yet it's stuff that we don't think about.
A lot of women are very kind-hearted and they want to help and even think that, well, that's the exchange for love. But that's prostitution, just in reverse.
Wow.
If that's what you want, if that turns you on, cool. But if you don't want to lose your money, you don't have to give your money for love. And in the most healthy relationships, money is not one of the exchange factors. Although money is an exchange factor in relationships. I don't want to say it can't be, but it doesn't have to be.
Yes. So good. So good. So in all of this, we've got the woman who's out there doing her 3 dates and everything. What tips do you give women to help them manage their own anxiety, their own nerves, their own, yikes, I'm actually doing this sort of feeling?
So much advice for that. I mean, first of all, honestly, I know it's so counterintuitive, but don't drink. I know what most people do to manage their nerves. Don't do it, because the less of your faculties you have available, the more likely you will be to make bad choices, mess up, and then deal with the long tail of that instead of staying in the moment. So just really encourage yourself that is not the solution to your anxiety. The preparation I do with my clients, I think, is what relieves so much of their anxiety. And that includes, we literally list the questions that you're going to ask. The preparation, coming up with questions for each of your 3 age criteria. So some of your 3 age criteria, you just observe. Does he have the color hair I like? Does he smell good? Right? Like, some of these are just observations. But some of them require a question. What do your friends depend upon you for? What are you known for family? What do you love most about your brother or sister or parents? What's a great Sunday for you? So there are all these beautiful questions you can ask to start to get at the criteria that you're most interested in. And you must ask those in the first 3 dates. So if you're going in and you have an agenda, you're like, I'm going to ask and answer these questions. It is so much less nerve wracking because you have a plan. Just
You're on
like if you were
task. Yeah.
in a speech, you bring your notes. And I honestly don't even care if you bring your notes, because if that's your person and he's attracted to you, he's not even going to care. If you're like, oh, I forgot what I wanted to ask you. No, because he likes you. He thinks you're great. You match his 3 age criteria. So you can't mess it up with the one. So you actually don't need to be anxious. You just need to be prepared, because your coach, me, is going to wants you to really be sure on all those criteria by the end of 3 dates. So you can't just be listening to music or BSing or talking about the weather or listening to complain for 4 hours about his ex. You have to be on purpose leading the conversation in the direction you want it to go in. So you practice the question and you also practice your answers to the same question.
Oh, okay. Of course, that makes sense.
So you're rehearsed, right? Like you think everything saying I haven't said before. I've said this before because I don't sound like an idiot. I want to be present with you. So I've done my practice. So dating is like learning guitar. It's not something you just know. You don't know how to do it. You actually have to prepare and practice just like you would for anything you want to be good at. Some people are naturals and they get good at it very quickly because of whatever their innate traits are. Cool, just like guitar. But you still have to learn and practice a new skill. So that preparation, I think, goes a huge distance in relieving anxiety, as well as just the mantra, you can't mess it up with the one, right? You're just trying to figure out if it's a match. It's really the same thing for job interviews. If you're not a match, it's that it doesn't work out. Same with dates. It's good. You're like, how fast can you make a date? If it's not the one, it should be 20 minutes. It's okay. Everyone gets their time back. Everybody gets their money back. And you move on having learned something.
I love how you've just sort of demysticized this whole dating thing to here's your game plan. Get out there onto the battlefield. And make a decision. You're in. Yeah, exactly. You're in, you're out. Next. Love it. It's so good. It's so good.
It's easier said than done.
I know.
But easier than you think. Okay. It's easier than you think. Because how you think about it kills the whole thing.
Well, I think you're putting so much of the control and the decision making back into women's hands, which, okay, in theory we had it anyway, but most of us didn't operate like that. Our teens, it was like, oh, is he going to look at me? Is he going to notice me?
Right.
And we gave them all the power. So you're basically encouraging these women, aren't you, that they actually have the power to make decisions.
Oh, and if you ask men, by the way, they all think we have the power, right? That men are utterly upset and intimidated by how much power we have. So you really do have the power. You really, really do have the power. And in fact, you need to be sensitive to that fact, is that you really do have the power. So be kind.
Yes.
Be kind. Be gentle. Give feedback as soon as possible. Say no as soon as possible before they get attached.
Yeah.
It's not a match.
Good call. Well, Laurie, we could keep going for ages, but I want you, if you could let us know, please, how can people find you? I know you offer coaching. I know you've got amazing resources. Tell us a little bit about what you've got there on your site.
Excellent. It's very easy. Go to lauriegerber.com, LAURIEGERBER.com. There you will find much information about dating and how to date like you mean it. You can also find me for private coaching and couples coaching and all that stuff too. But you can take the free quiz on Are You Ready to Date Like You Mean It? You can hook up with me for a consultation. You can watch a masterclass. You can see my TEDx talk there.
While I was looking to see a little bit about Laurie, I was doing my due diligence before we had our online date here.
Exactly.
Yes.
Real.
Exactly. And I was just blown away. I mean, seriously, folks, this lady has such a wealth of knowledge and experience. And so just get in there, please. Get on her newsletters. Get in there. I think whether you're in a long-term relationship or if you're just looking at dating, you really want to listen to what Laurie has to say. There's something there for everyone. So, Laurie, I just want to thank you so much for jumping on today. I know it's dinner time over there in New York, but I so appreciate you being part of the Rocking Midlife podcast. So thank you.
You are so welcome. It was so much fun.
Please make sure to share this episode out, especially with the single girlfriends in your life. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Rocking Midlife podcast.